how would you define loyalty?
Define loyalty.
Yeah. What is loyalty?
How would I define loyalty? I always thought it was basically the act of being loyal.
What is loyal?
Yeah. Loyal is, I'll tell you what the definition is.
Is it an act though? Is it just an act? Are you confining it to acts of loyalty? Can you have thoughts of loyalty?
Thoughts of loyalty?
Mm.
That's an interesting one, isn't it? Well, as in, if you would have a certain dream of like
someone else,
different football team. I was going to say football team, but okay. If you're wearing the other team's colours in a dream, is that disloyal?
That comes down to acts then, doesn't it?
Okay, in a dream, it's a thought, isn't it?
Well, dreams and thoughts are different, aren't they? So I guess, okay, I'm not gonna go down that road.
That's going to be a deep show, man. We're only 60 seconds in. The difference between thoughts and dreams. That's a show for the future.
Okay.
I'm going to sit back and listen to that one because to me it's all the same. Your thoughts are your dreams.
In some cases.
Okay.
We will go deeper in that. But coming back to the concept of loyalty. What is meant by loyalty? What is
giving or showing firm and constant support or allegiance to a person or institution?
Oh, you came up with the definition. Where did you get that from?
Because I run a retail business myself. And I was looking up the whole concept of loyalty cards, loyalty points, apps, these kind of things. And this guy really, I think it was a TED talk, and he really broke it down. He goes, loyalty in this sense isn't being loyal itself. And I thought, what's he on about? And he broke it down and he goes, look, it's in terms of marketing, in terms of business, that's not what we mean it as. It's a different definition. So when we use it in our daily lives, I think it varies. I think we've got at least 3 or 4 different definitions according to what we're talking about.
If somebody says, generally, if having a conversation about loyalty in general, what comes to your mind in terms of what loyalty is?
Allegiance.
Allegiance.
Yes.
Okay.
Allegiance or support.
Can allegiance or support, loyalty, be dependent on anything? Is it conditional or unconditional?
Depends on how brainwashed you are, doesn't it?
Brainwashed?
Well, how set in your ways. For example, you have people who are loyal to the Queen or their country or their land or all of these things, and that's quite deep rooted. Like deep rooted nationalistic views or self superior type things. But when it comes to
you're saying that's conditional or unconditional?
I think that's unconditional.
Okay.
When you get to that level of
national level,
okay, pride level, nationalistic level, your country can do no wrong.
Could you not be loyal to an entity even though you recognize they could do wrong?
It's rare.
The
thing is, loyalty can get to a stage where it takes away impartiality. That's a worry.
That's dangerous.
That is dangerous.
That is dangerous because you see, then are you even then being loyal for the sake of, what are you being loyal to? You're being loyal to an entity rather than maybe to your values.
Yeah, to your values.
You're being disloyal to your values, yourself, your community, your culture, your religion, whatever it might be.
Yes.
In order to be loyal to an entity.
And then it begs the question.
I've been in situations like that. Trust me, I have had people, and I've seen people give false testimonies or ask for false testimonies because they have loyalty to someone or with someone.
Yeah, and nowadays
I'm like, what
it doesn't even take much.
Fish?
Yes.
How can you do that? You're selling your soul for your loyalty. So they have this thing with families, don't they? Usually in certain cultures, that no matter what happened, you stick with family. Family comes first. Yeah, you stick together.
What was it? Blood is thicker than water.
Blood is thicker than water. Yeah.
It's wrong. It's wrong because think of how many values are compromised when you're giving a false testimony. What are you actually doing? Is that loyalty? Does loyalty ask you for that?
that's stupidity, but that's
It's many things.
it's
Yeah.
many things, but they are being loyal. Whether they're doing it in the right way or the wrong way is a separate thing altogether, but the loyalty is still there. It's because they're loyal to one thing, they may be finding themselves to be disloyal to something else.
Yes.
Question is, which one's more important, being loyal to an entity or being loyal to your own values? And if you're not loyal to your values, what do you lose out on? If you're not loyal to an entity, what do you lose out on?
If you're not loyal to yourself, then what are you really loyal to? I should write that down.
You should write that one. I think you should quote that one.
I could probably word it slightly better, but this is it. Football teams. And this is so common when, for example, you get referee decisions, but when it's a foul against your team, and it's not given as a red card or a penalty, you'll scream the roof down. You'll shout blue murder. But when it goes in your favor and the ref doesn't pull your player up for it, it's a different kettle of fish.
You'll take it.
Yeah. So
is that happens generally in sports, doesn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It's bad sportsmanship, isn't it?
It is bad sportsmanship. But does your club or does your team ask you for that kind of loyalty? Do you need that?
They probably won't, reject it, but I don't think they ask for it. It's two different things, isn't it? They won't obviously ask for it, but they won't reject it at the same time.
Yeah, I think a lot of people struggle to criticize their loyalties or where their loyalties lie. That's a bit of an issue for me. Be it a sports team, be it your prime minister, your president, your kind of, union, whatever it is, your representative, your leader. It's an issue. I think those loyalties are always best questioned. But nowadays, we're like the opposite, aren't we?
Simran says it's like being loyal to the society's expectations and not your own values. Whether it's society, whether it's individuals, whether it's family, whether it's friends. I think, when it comes to the concept of loyalty, there are always going to be some conditions attached to loyalty. Yeah. Look, take for example, relationships. From a personal perspective, like in anyone's personal world, when people enter a relationship or marriage, there are loyalties which are they don't need to even, they are promises, and there are expectations, and there are, you swear to be loyal to one another or whatnot, but there's always going to be a condition, isn't there? If somebody breaks those conditions, then there's loyalty is no longer due. It's almost like a contract or an agreement.
So it's null and void.
Yeah. Okay. It could be null and void, or you could just part ways. Yeah. If you're not loyal to those expectations, if you look at businesses, you might be loyal to business people, you might be loyal to business brands. Yeah. But if they're not performing to expectation, then do you sever that relationship, say I'm no longer loyal? Because loyalty is not infinite, is it? There are conditions.
I've seen it on many cases where it's
really
infinite, and to the most bizarre of things as well. I was a kid once upon a time, and I was working in my uncle's fast food outlet. We just bought it recently. It'd been open for over 20 years. So we'd have customers who'd been coming there for 20 years. Now, what we did is we switched up the menu a little bit. The chef that we brought in, fantastic. Like, I'm talking almost, compared to what they'd had before, almost Michelin star. And this was the difference. But these customers, they just couldn't understand it. They were loyal to the brand, the takeaway, the shop, everything. But they said, no. The way that the previous owner, we've been coming to him for 20 years, and they only did 3 curries. They did a Madras, they did a jalfrezi, they did a vindaloo. All 3 were the same. They just, one was a bit hotter than the other, but it was the same gravy, the same paste, whatever. And we brought in like 30 different varieties, one with coconut, one with this base, that base, all sorts. And they said, look, given they were just, all 3 were mush and they were the same thing, but it's what we know. We were loyal to, we would always have it on a Friday night. We'd have that same thing week in, week out. So now you're saying, look, I'm going to give you something 10 times better.
Mm.
They're like, you know,
Interesting.
that's a strange kind of loyalty.
Is that loyalty? Or is that just preference?
I would say, look, people develop these kind of loyalties. Look, okay, curries can vary because there's different ingredients, different seasoning, and all of these things. Yeah. What about when you're buying a drink? What, for example, if you go to the pub, you're served from the same barrel, yes, wherever you go up and down the country. But people prefer, well, I say prefer because then, yeah, preference, but their loyalty usually lies with one pub, one shop, one coffee shop, one clothes shop.
I'm not sure
shop.
if that's conflating the loyalty with just personal taste and preferences. Sarah says more often than not, being loyal depends on that person's state of heart or how they feel about you at the time. It's an emotional choice that can change depending on the circumstances, especially amongst friends. It's very rare that you have a true friend who stays loyal to you no matter what.
Unconditional.
Yeah,
of course that's rare, but then a hairstylist or a barber, like, not that I visit the barber very often, I have little need to, but we've got quite a few local barbershops, and if one has a queue, I'll go to the next one. I'll just drive past.
Okay, so there's no loyalty because your preferences in what you want to have, they're all going to perform pretty much on par, right? But somebody like me who has a full, I'm just joking. If somebody has a preference on how they want to have their hair cut or their beard trimmed or something, I'm just imagining it because I do all mine myself, but I'm just imagining if someone has, I'm going back to the days when I used to have that hair, I would prefer to go, it's again a preference, to go to somebody who knows how to blend the stuff in and how to kind of style it the way I want it, as opposed to somebody else. A new barber may not get it right, but the one that you go to regularly will probably know more about how you want to style your hair. That's again preference rather than loyalty. Here's what I feel is dangerous when it comes to loyalty, though. It's when you start to possibly recommend or sing praises of a person or a business, even though you may not have used them, right?
That's another one.
I know, I'm big on networking, right? And I know I have people within our circles on the networking scene who will recommend somebody else within their networking circles because if they may pay a membership fee, obviously there's some kind of loyalty there, right? The question is, they may be crap, they may be shit at what they do, right? They may not know what they're doing at all. But you recommending somebody as the bee's knees. Here's the thing. Lasted a few minutes today, 14 minutes.
You did good.
If you're recommending a number of people, like if you ask me, Maj, do you know any accountants? And I'll say, yeah, I know this person, this one. Take your pick, go and give them a call, find out for yourself, do your due diligence. That's one thing. But if I say, no, you've got to go to, I know an accountant, you've got to go to this person. He or she is really good at what they do. Mention my name. Now, through my loyalty to this person, if I'm saying they're really good and you trust me on my judgment, yes, there's an onus on you to do your own due diligence. But if you trust me on my judgment and I've made this recommendation and I don't even know whether they're actually good at their job, or on the other hand, I might have even heard negative feedback, but yet I still recommend them. Notice why I didn't leave a review for your business. Yeah, I'm just joking.
Wow.
I have it's a positive one, but because I've used the services of your business. But if I'm doing that and I'm recommending someone without knowing, let's just say, look, there's a common one where there's a lot of bookkeepers who pose themselves as qualified accountants. Yeah. Now, if you're a bookkeeper, there's nothing wrong with being a bookkeeper. You can still do a lot of what your client may need you to do, but posing as something that you're not is dangerous. Yeah.
Yes.
It's actually fraudulent. But if you're getting people to recommend you as an accountant who can do X, Y, and Z, when it might not be your skill set, for the sake of getting more business, and you might be ruining that client, that's wrong, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
So if I have loyalties with a friend, like let's just say you, as an example, you have a retail business, you own a desserts parlor, and I love desserts and stuff, and I say to you, oh, Ali's the best in town, although I may not have tried any of the other brands, I say, no, you've got to go to Sweet Retreat. Sweet Retreat is the best in town because of my loyalty or my love for my friend or my brother or whatever, right? Am I being truthful? Is that the right thing to do? Could I not just rephrase and say, oh, I know what, I go there, I really like the taste, but I've not tried any others, but I would go with that to give it a try.
I think this is
there's a balance, isn't there?
It comes more into play when we're talking about maybe tradesmen. I've never had a kitchen fitted, but I'd probably still recommend a kitchen fitter. Am I in a position to recommend a kitchen fitter if I've never had one fitted?
That's the question, isn't it?
Just because I know someone who fits kitchens, I have to be quite careful in what I say. You're right. I know this guy who does kitchens. Give him a call, see what it is. I don't know if he's any good or not. But it's hard to say, though, isn't it? It's hard to say anything negative or even something that's inclined towards negativity. Yes. But even being impartial, it's difficult because you're going to say, okay, well, why did you say it like that? People start thinking all sorts of things, don't they? There's this presupposition in their mind that they'll derive meanings out of your statements, which you may not have even intended. I generally, because we're quite a small community and everyone knows everyone, or at least you know someone in every sector. Mostly around food, because that's what we come into contact with daily. I mean, some of us come into contact with it numerous times a day.
I wouldn't know, obviously.
If someone opens a fast food outlet or a restaurant or a dessert place or something along these lines, if it's not to my liking, regardless how well I know that person, I'll bite my tongue when being asked to refer them or anything. When it is to my liking, I'll rave about it.
Which is a sensible, in my opinion, is a sensible thing to do. Look, Simra says loyalty is based on how it will benefit the individual. And that's a really interesting point, because I was thinking about this earlier today, and people often forget the YIIFM factor. What's in it for me, right? Often when we do things, even if it's things of a charitable nature, there's always a self-reflective, self-invested kind of an interest. Being completely, what would be the word, detached from the giving and not having any effect on your feelings or intentions is kind of doesn't fit in well with me. So what I'm saying is, when we do anything, and even when we're being loyal, there's the loyalty is for a specific reason. And this is why I said at the beginning, I think there's the loyalties are conditional, because there's always something in it for you. What's in it for you is what counts. Now, they might not be, financial gains or any kind of things in your mind that you think you're going to benefit from in any other respect, but simply make you feel good or make you feel happy, or these are again something that's in it for you. So it's important.
There's a lot of exceptions to that, though, isn't there?
Such as
when people defend their political party.
Okay.
I don't see any gain in it for them, but they'll defend them till the cows come home. Why did they take away kids' school dinners? Why did they cut NHS wages? Why did they do this? There are people out there that will defend those decisions,
or not even address them. Overlook them.
You
don't even have to defend it, just by overlooking. What's that saying about silence constitutes acceptance or something? You're right. And
there's no benefit in it for that person. What would it kill them to admit?
Loyalty is the strongest glue that makes a relationship last for a lifetime. So Bobby is saying, can you dissect the statements? I am loyal to my friends and to my wife. How does it play out? When wife wants to go out with you, but arrangement has been made with mates, how do you think through the potential conflict between your loyalty? Okay, conflicting loyalties. Wow. Okay.
This is where
Bobby, come on,
negotiation skills,
yes,
are worth their weight in gold. Bit of diplomacy. We're cooking up quite a recipe here, aren't we? Negotiating, diplomacy, drop a couple compliments. you're good to go.
That's assuming that they'll be bought into. The compliments, that is.
They work. But loyalty is like to your political party, to your, president, prime minister, to your football club, to your country. These things I don't understand. I've just never understood it.
I've never. Look, I'm not. I like certain sports. I like cycling. I'll enjoy playing badminton.
Cycling is not a sport. Come
Listen,
on, give
leave
me
it out. Leave it out. It's a form of exercise.
Football,
right?
Cricket. Come at me with something, man.
Badminton.
Even like volleyball. Okay, badminton.
No, it's not volleyball. It's a volleyball.
Okay.
Volleyball. So, look. Okay, if we were to go by your thinking and sports, here's a question I would have. What's your criteria to support a particular team? What's the criteria? How do you determine who to support?
Honestly, for me, if you like the way they play. It's not about if they win all the time. It's not about, it can be about what color t-shirt they wear if you're not really into sports, but it's the way they gel and their style of play. I'll give you an example. Arsenal was a very stylish team.
Mm-hmm.
Their attacks, just the way that they'd pass the ball around, it was very suave. It just looked sexy.
Some might disagree with you, but yeah, go on.
Did they win much? Not really. Did they flake in the bigger games? Usually, yes. Were they champions that often? Did they have a trophy cabinet? No. But they were a good, they played nice looking football.
Well, were you a supporter?
Yeah, I liked that team. I thought, yes. Was it loyalty? No, because after a few years, those players.
Well, that doesn't count then, does it?
Well, this is what I'm saying. This is where I stand on it.
Okay.
This is where I stand on it. But someone who's been a fan of, I don't know, Derby County for 20 years, 30 years, for life.
Be careful, we're in Derby.
Why?
Maybe somebody
surely things have changed. You grew up liking them because, I don't know.
Maybe there's a geographical association. They want to support the locals.
Why?
Well, okay, that's a good question.
It's a very good question. Why do you have to support the team that's closest to you? What's the deal with that? When it comes to national tournaments,
loyalty by association, isn't it? In simplest terms, you're associated through geographical presence.
True, I guess so.
And that's enough for some people.
This is why I quite like. It's why I like and dislike Pakistan cricket fans or fans of the Pakistan cricket team, because they will tell it as it is. When their team doesn't perform,
they'll throw eggs at them.
They will know about it. Yeah. But when they've done something right, they'll say, you know what? We clicked today. We played well. But when they don't, straight away they'll tell you as it is. We did this wrong. We did this wrong. This guy's stupid. This guy. Whatever.
They'll break their own TVs.
Yeah,
they'll take their own TVs out of their house and start smashing it onto the pavements on the roads. Yeah, I've seen that.
If you can't even do that, I'm not saying that's the right thing to do.
What, smash TVs?
Well, you shouldn't slate the players to that level. Pakistani fans
they get
very passionate.
It's almost like another religion, isn't it? Cricket in Indo-Pak regions.
It's a craze, So maybe tone it down a little bit, but at least be able to accept it. Look, we didn't perform today.
What about loyalty in terms of, I mean, we touched on this earlier, when you go shopping, loyalty cards, loyalty schemes.
Interesting one, isn't it? Are they loyalty schemes?
Well, if you're getting some kind of vouchers and discounts because you've signed up to something, then maybe.
I've had a bunch of cards, for all your supermarkets and all these kind of things. And I've worked out the pros and cons, and I'll be honest, I ain't loyal to any supermarket. I can't remember the last time I did my full shop from one shop.
Okay.
Purely because that loyalty card will give you, I don't know, £1 off after you spent £1,000 or something. So it's pros and cons. I don't think they should be called loyalty cards. because that's not how you use them. That's not what they are. You know?
They obviously work, which is why they're continuing to go. With every organization you see at that level, you know, retail or supermarkets and stuff, they all have their own loyalty schemes or cards and stuff like that.
Most of them.
In some cases, you can tell it's going to be more of a prestige thing, right? So if you've got a card, you know, like some of our friends like to shop at Waitrose,
you know.
yes, hint, hint. Or you know, if somebody has a card for another brand which is known to be maybe not so cost effective, in inverted commas. So there's a prestige element attached to that, right? In other elements, in other areas, for example, you go and fill up at places like, I mean, I don't fill up at supermarkets in general, but if you fill up your car from Tesco's, you continue doing that, you get certain vouchers in the post to get certain money off for your next month of when you go to the petrol station. So if I know that I'm going to get money off, if I continue to buy from here, I'm going to buy from anywhere else is going to be the same price. But here, at least I get vouchers to spend to
is
get
that loyalty though? Let me give you an example.
Is it not enticing the customer to be loyal to their brand so that they can get money off?
Does it work that way? I don't think it does.
How do you think it works then?
Look, you've got, I don't know, a tin of or a jar of peanut butter. It's £2 everywhere. The difference is when you go to Tesco, you get club card points. Which add up to, I don't know, a penny per point or whatever. So you get, we're not going to mathematics, but you get a few club card points. There's peanut butter that's £2 everywhere, including Tesco. It's not any cheaper. You just get the points. As soon as that's on half price at Asda or any other shop, that half price purchase by far outweighs the benefit of the club card points. What do? If you go to that alternative shop and get it for half price, then that's not loyalty, is it?
No, it's not. And so, but that's because you're not loyal to the brand in the first place. You're taking advantage. But I don't think everybody works that way. Some people would work. They're not even interested to understand what the prices of competitors are. They would only go to a certain place because they get. I've seen people fight at the till because the points hadn't been put on their cards.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I've been around the block a few times. I've seen a few things in my life.
Well,
somebody
in more ways than one.
Well, yeah.
If you know, you know.
So it's
true. It's people have.
Okay, that's interesting. I'm not saying it's more of an incentive scheme than loyalty scheme.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah. So okay once they stop offering the vouchers, would you still go there? I doubt it.
No. The second somewhere else is cheaper, you're gone. It's the same product.
If the same product is being sold at a lower price in other places, then there's no loyalty to that particular outlet.
Doesn't quite work the same is with brands.
Okay.
Clothing brands.
Yes.
For example.
iPhone versus Android or Samsung example. I was having a discussion with a friend of mine.
Kind of I don't get it. I've shunned both of them now. I'm on to Huawei, and I'm not even loyal to Huawei. They just had a good camera at the time. But just because you had the iPhone 7, was it 7, 8? What are we on now?
I believe iPhone
9,
11. I think 12 is going to come out, isn't it?
Okay, so I've clearly been out the rat race for a while now. But just because you had an iPhone 11 doesn't mean you have to have an iPhone 12. You don't have to argue with people. Who are
people
Android.
Do. The people do. Though. They have these wars. The operating system.
I don't want to say comical, but it's entertainment when you read a thread, which is Apple versus Android.
I put one up this morning. A post as the new iOS 14 taking more steps towards Android. And then I put it off after a while because I was getting some silly things.
Mail,
so around the and then already.
But people are that passionate now. Why would you want to be loyal to either? What difference does
Well,
it make?
this is
It
yeah.
comes back
It's,
to your acronym about how does it benefit you? What's in it for me? It
mm,
doesn't.
mm,
You know, if you want to have an iPhone, have an iPhone. If you want to have a Samsung, have a Samsung. If your mate is, of the alternative, does it matter? What difference does it make?
to
I'm not
any,
trying to be blasphemous to like either party,
But you're right. I think that the problem is when people justify their purchases, that's when you get into a bit of a rigmarole, because people justify why they are loyal to, and loyalty you shouldn't need to justify loyalty.
No,
It's not something that requires justifications, does it?
no, it doesn't.
It's
Why do you think that is? You know what? I'm glad you mentioned that, because the Apple versus Android is, I can't describe it as anything other than loyalty.
It's like people who buy Japanese cars and German cars, right?
Yeah.
Some people say, no, for me, it's going to be Toyota, like our, and
And you don't know what's going to happen next year. You don't know
yeah.
if German are suddenly going to do something that's, new technology, a lot better.
Yeah, I mean, one of my sisters loves Japanese cars. She just, she always buys Japanese cars.
Because that's what we heard growing up.
Yeah,
they're reliable,
exactly.
they're robust.
Yeah. So to divert to any other choice it's a hard choice. Yeah, I mean, I've had all sorts of cars personally. I mean, I'm not into loyalty of a certain kind of car, but yeah, it's. What do you think people think about before making? What is it about that kind of thing that which persuades them to stick to a brand or a make or a model?
I really don't know. I've never understood it, but what I do know is that the vast majority of people do it.
Yeah.
Cars, clothes, shoes, grocery shopping, calling a cab.
I'll have the usual. Yeah. So they're not willing to try something different. Better the devil you know.
I don't get it. I have very.
Do you think that comes down to how great the marketing and branding of that organization has been, that company has been?
Definitely.
So branding does a lot for companies. Branding, marketing. If you look at what values your product, so some people are attracted to certain values, right? So you got something like, what's the outlet called where they only sell herbal stuff and non-dangerous foods and stuff like that?
Lush?
I don't know. I can't remember. So there are outlets, if they've got their value systems are such that they're not going to go down the route of endangering the environment by using products or animals and stuff, right? And that might be important to someone, and they might be loyal to that because of their values, meeting their values. Yeah. Other times it might be a prestige thing. Yeah. So if you got something that's really expensive, it's a prestige thing, isn't it? Yeah. So for them it might be that. Watches is a good example, isn't it? We're talking about, when you watch today.
Not even.
So Rolex or Rolex imitations, and people wear imitations. What about them? People who wear imitation products or
Yeah, see, that's image, isn't it? That goes on to something else. But why would you have a lifelong loyalty to Rolex? They made a nice watch, you bought it. You don't owe them anything. They don't owe you anything. If suddenly a different brand makes a better watch, should you shun it? I don't see why.
But there are people who would defend their purchase over there and say, no.
Yeah.
Do that.
Yeah. Which I can't think of a better example than Apple Android. I think what are you on, by the way?
Right now I'm on Android, but I was on Apple.
You switched.
I switched, yeah.
I think Apple users are a bit salty in knowing that they're a couple of steps behind. I'm not favoring one, but I think the latest iPhone can come out and they can say, yeah, we've got this, we've got, I don't know, fingerprint technology, all this. You're like, oh, okay, so you've got last year's Samsung.
No, Samsung from 10 years ago, right? I was talking to somebody about this yesterday because they were telling me how great the new iOS 14 is, the latest software update that Apple are going to push out soon.
Okay.
And they've got things like widgets. It's like Samsung have had the widgets, or Android have had widgets from
As long as I can
since
remember,
inception, yes. And that kind of thing is like the wow factor. But here's the important thing, though, isn't it? Because when you look at branding and we're talking about marketing, Apple market their products in such a way that they make people or the consumers feel that they're the first ones to do it.
Yeah.
Because innovation is one of their brand values.
Yes.
Right. So if they're not seen to be innovating, then they're not sticking to their values, are they? Right.
It's brilliant marketing. Apple is second to none. Just the way they have their Apple stores, the way they have launches of products, the way they have a waiting list, the way they have queues. They've thought of everything.
Attention to detail.
Attention to detail.
Yeah.
And it works.
And even their customer service. I mean, when I used to be with Apple, I used to have their Apple aftercare products or cover.
Yeah.
And I remember just calling them, and if I had a problem, they would send me a new phone and then take mine back, rather than there's no disruption. Right?
Yeah, it is really good.
So Claire says, if a business has good customer service and what I want, I'll keep supporting them. I use a lot of small independent businesses for pretty much everything. I shop for food locally as much as I can, local farms, butchers, grocers, and bakers. So in line with that, how loyal is loyal? Like if you had a friend who started to sell products which you bought at a local supermarket, you want to support your friend, but you're going to get the product cheaper at some supermarkets. Would you
So
be
I'll tell you
loyal?
what the difference is here, yeah? If my friend sells a dozen bananas for how much are bananas these days? Let's say £1.50.
That's cheap.
Yeah, is it?
I think no, it doesn't. Yeah.
He sells them for £1.50, and I'm getting them for £1.50 from the supermarket anyway.
Then you go to your friend.
Is that loyalty? No, I don't really think it is.
It's convenience.
It's convenience. It's whatever,
Save face. Or you are seen to be supporting.
Yes.
You want to be seen to be supporting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's what it would come down to, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the difference. And I agree with what the listener says, is that use local businesses, small independent businesses. That's fantastic. Use, fresh grocery shops, organic shops, local butchers, these kind of things. That's great. But is that loyalty? Would you not use a different butcher if the cut that you wanted is not available from your usual place?
Of course.
Should loyalty come into consumer habits?
I think they do.
I think it compromises.
I don't think most people care about loyalty from where they buy their stuff, unless they know somebody who will know other people in that industry, and they'll know that you bought it from their competitors, and they'll have a bee in the bonnet about it.
Well, I think there's a lot of memes of barbers.
Yeah.
Where you go to your regular barber, your friends, your everything. One day he's closed or he's whatever.
You go to someone else.
You go to a different barber, and your barber's like walking past and he sees you. And, it's one of those things. It's a strange kind of loyalty. You'd think it was convenience. You'd think it was, just logic and all the rest.
I get all the barbers looking at me like that, because I don't go to any of them.
They're trying to figure out where does he go? Tracing your footsteps and everything.
Which is true. They probably do, but no, that makes sense. And I think it's also a case of when you have somebody, or multiple people within the same industry.
Yeah.
Let's take insurance, for example. Some insurances are mandatory, and you got an insurance. I got insurance brokers friends, right? So I have to admit, I would trust my friend to find me the best deal, because I'm busy to look into making all these price comparisons. My business insurance, for example, I have a friend who's in insurance, and I always get it renewed from him. If I don't like the price, I'll pick up the phone and say, "Come on, man, sort something out here. Do it properly."
On that point,
yeah.
Loyalty would be getting it from him because he's your friend, and not being interested in knowing better. Yeah, that's loyalty.
It's allegiance, isn't it?
It's allegiance, which is
as
one
you
and
said,
the same.
Yeah.
The question now is, you just so happen to be on a comparison site, or you know someone else that had the identical policy and they paid less. What do you do?
How much less is the question then? If it's a case of, look, I'm gonna, okay.
So you've already put a price on your loyalty.
Yes, you're right. And then I wouldn't just put a price. Okay, yes, that's a fair point. But I wouldn't just switch without having a discussion. You see, for the sake of my friendship, I would pick up the phone and say, look, dude, this just came up in my email. What do you reckon to this? Yeah. Right? Then you know what? Loyalty also means honesty. To me, it also means being honest with each other, those people who you want to be loyal to, in a more closer proximity. When there's more proximity in your relationship, then there's a need to be more honest as well. You don't just do backhanded stuff, right? If it's a big company and let's just say I bought my insurance through one comparison website, Go Compare or something, and then next year I went through Money's Supermarket, whatever it is, then there's no need for you to have a discussion, right?
Yeah.
But if you were selling insurance and I'm getting my insurance from you every year, I will say to you, Ali, man, look, I've got this email through. When my renewal comes up, can you check my renewal? Is there something you can do? Now, if it's something worth putting an effort in for, then yeah. If it's not, if it's just like a few quid, then I wouldn't bother.
So was there ever loyalty in the first place?
Yes, I think there was. There's a loyalty. Actually, yeah, it's a good question. I think
your friend's a broker. He gets you the cheapest quote.
Yeah, I think then it comes down to the IIFM factor again, doesn't it? What's in it for me? Yeah. This is why I said at the beginning, loyalty is always conditional.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no such thing as unconditional loyalty.
In most instances, it should be.
We're not talking about love here. We're talking about loyalty, right? Some kinds of love is unconditional.
Should love be unconditional?
I think it has to be. But
I think so?
Yeah, in some instances, yeah. Look at the relationship within your kinship, within your siblings and your family, your parents, and your children. I think it has to be unconditional love. Now, love doesn't always have to look pretty. You might do something which people don't like because you love them. You've got to be cruel to be kind, but it doesn't mean to say you don't love them anymore. It means you're doing something to put things right by you, by them. But it doesn't mean you stop loving them or you don't care about them.
Yeah, which is.
It reminds me of a poem. Have you heard of you've heard of Allama Iqbal, right?
Yeah, vaguely.
Philosopher. He's one of those guys who's really revered by a lot of different.
I know him well. Yeah.
And we're talking on love, and he says, "Tere ishq ki intaha chahta tha, tere ishq ki intaha chahta tha, meri saadgi dekh main kya chahta tha." So I was desiring the end limits of your love. Yeah, I was desiring the end limits of your love. Look at my naivety. What is it that I was actually asking for? Because in his mind, from a philosophical point of view, the end limit of anything, it goes to God. So he was in what he verbalized was, I was wanting the end limits of your love, but in reality, he was actually asking for.
Wow.
Yeah. So. Yeah, sorry, that was a bit of a diversion, but
no, that's a really good point, which is probably a good topic for another show in terms of
love.
Yeah, because
love.
See, I have an issue with people saying love should be unconditional, but then when you break it down, you can love a person, but it's how you express
what does
love, isn't it?
How is it expressed?
Do
what does that love look like?
Does it have to be doing?
Next week's topic. Unconditional love.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay.
Then I'm going to ask you, what is love?
Oh no, that's a tough one.
In fact, I think the listeners.
It's when you stay awake all night and you dream about stars and.
That's puppy love. That's something else.
That's Bollywood love. That is. I'm awake all night most nights anyway, but it's not because of my love. It's because I've got work to do. No butterflies. And I stay up till sunrise as well. Yeah. So yeah, nowadays I'm not sleeping until like 5, 6 o'clock in the morning.
Routine's gone, isn't it?
I love it.
Where's your loyalty to your bed? Come on, your pillow expects you at a certain time. Don't get this wrong, man.
So yeah, it's interesting because people have different perceptions of. And remember the quote I put up yesterday. Difference between perception and reality.
Yes.
And we might perceive to be loyal to something, but in reality, it's not loyalty as they perceive loyalty or how they would define loyalty.
Yeah.
It's you know, that's also a very interesting thing. Going
I think
really
when we
deep into
break it down, not a lot of it is loyalty. If I think about it now.
So what are the few things in life where you feel there is loyalty, genuine, sincere loyalty?
Unconditional, genuine,
I don't
sincere.
think there's any loyalty which is unconditional. I think
Okay.
all loyalty has
Just gonna put
conditions.
that out there, yeah.
I'm just going to put that out there. Prove me wrong.
Okay. Interesting. So it's all conditional.
All loyalty is conditional.
That's deep. Okay, I'm sure there'll be some that maybe disagree with that, but then
That's fine, yeah.
that's mindset, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the way that you've conditioned yourself to be.
You got person A and person B getting married. Again, the whole point is just to remain loyal to each other, right? Forever and ever, amen. But there's a condition attached to that. That's a common.
There's numerous conditions.
There are so many,
there's
loads of
terms
conditions.
and conditions. It's the whole thing is an agreement, a contract, isn't it? Yeah. I'll tell you who's loyal. Trump supporters. Damn, there's some loyal people. Like, this guy has done some of the craziest things, said the most, I want to say obnoxious, but what's a stronger word? Like, this guy's ridiculous.
Yeah.
They will defend him. They are loyal to him.
What are they loyal to exactly?
I don't even know. Truth be told, I don't know. I think if he switched completely, they'd still be loyal.
Some of them would be.
There's those kind of people out there, you know.
Yeah.
I get the fact if the face fits, if he's saying what you want to say, you know, ride with him. But the moment his policies change, shouldn't your loyalties change or your allegiance change?
Ideally, yes, in an ideal world, but we're not, you know, in an ideal world, is that? But every loyalty will have something which deters them or breaks that loyalty or severs that loyalty.
There must be a psychological definition for what that is, because it's not loyalty, it's something else.
It's a matter of faith. Naz is saying, what about loyalty to our faith? Does that have conditions? I don't think that's loyalty. That's faith. That's belief. You can't say that's loyalty. You're not loyalty to faith. You have belief and faith in something.
I'll tell you what the problem is
having
loyalty in faith.
In certain practices of faith,
yeah,
unknowing of what the faith actually is.
This is it. You know?
So when you're loyal to certain practices, like we have this big debate, don't we, within intra-Islamic things, or intra-Christianity, when certain practices are taking place, they say, well, that's not a part of Christianity, well, that's not a part of Islam, right? Or any religion, or any faith, what you might have. If you've got differences within yourselves, you have to go back to the sources.
Yes.
And if somebody argues the point that, you know, this is a part of the religion or faith, well, is it? Is the question. Is it really? Is the foundational question.
And then what do you do if you find out it's not, but it's something that you've always done?
Then if you continue doing it, then you're loyal to something that doesn't even make sense to yourself. So who are you loyal to? You're disloyal to yourself to be loyal to a practice?
Yes. This is a major problem. And the thing with faith is it's so difficult, because if you're loyal to your faith and you're calling somebody else to your faith, aren't you asking them to compromise the values that you yourself hold? I'm loyal to my faith.
Mm-hmm.
You're loyal to your faith, which is a different faith.
You see, this is the thing. I don't like to term it as loyal to a faith.
It shouldn't
There's
be.
no loyalty in faith.
No, there isn't.
There's no compulsion in faith. There's no loyalty in faith. You have faith or you don't.
Yeah. The whole definition of faith is it's belief, isn't it?
Yes.
It's not a loyalty.
And the freedom to believe, and to the free, it might sound like an oxymoron. With your freedom, you choose to submit.
Yeah.
Do you see where I'm coming from?
Yeah. No, I'm with that.
So this is
you have to question it. You have to question everything. And the minute something becomes unconditional, dangerous place to be.
Yeah.
How do you think brainwashing happens? You know? Because you'll have this kind of unconditional
It's again mental conditioning, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
You were conditioned to think in a certain way. You were conditioned to believe certain things. You were conditioned to behave, act, and all those kind of things in certain ways. Well, this is lacking critical thinking. And again, if you go take that conversation back to loyalty, it's the same thing. If you're lacking critical thinking, that's the only reason you would be loyal to something without questioning it. If you lack your own critical thinking. I came across a quote at some point relating to that. I've forgotten it now, but that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is.
Do you have any kind of such loyalties to brands, to shops, to businesses, to sports teams, clubs?
Nothing.
None?
No, not tangible things. Materialistic things. I have no loyalty to any brand.
Okay. Would you say you're in the minority?
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. I tell you where I have preferences, which could be, I suppose, like give an example of, if you give an example of one of your family members, let's say it's your brother, who, I don't know, owned a store where you could buy your groceries or your meat.
Okay.
Would you not be loyal? Would that be not classed as loyalty, where you'd be loyal to just going there for certain things?
If you do it unconditionally, then yeah, I guess it's loyalty.
But would that be unconditional? If you would feel compelled to buy something from there. Now, would you still go to the same shop if your brother sold it? So who are you loyal to, the shop or the brother?
It's a good question. Depends where your kind of
allegiances lie.
Your allegiances lie, yeah. I would say you're definitely in the minority.
Look, don't get me wrong. There are certain shops which I go to regularly, but that's out of convenience and preference.
It is convenience, it's preference, it's various other reasons. They might stock something that other places don't. Their apples might be fresher. Their mangoes might be riper or juicier, I don't think loyalty has any place in consumerism. I don't think it fits. I don't think it fits in sport. We have a friend, a common friend
who has football tops for
I'm with him
teams.
all the way. He likes the way a certain team's playing. He's with them. He likes the way a different team's developed and they've bought a couple of players. He's with them. Another outspoken manager, innovative style strategy comes in. He's with them. Now, I don't want to question whether he's changing teams because they're suddenly on a winning streak.
Glory hunting.
But if he's doing it for the right reasons.
But what does it mean to be supporting a team? What does it actually mean? You buy the merchandise, or you just say that, oh, these guys are great, or they're the best? Is it just a proclamation of you saying that these guys are better than others, or is it a case of?
I think it's just a sense of belonging for most people. Majority of football fans don't support their chosen club.
What do you mean?
They're not buying their merchandise. They don't have a season ticket. They're not donating to them or funding them, or they're not supporting them in that sense. Is support always financial or physical? I don't know.
No, I guess whatever we are loyal to, I keep going back to this. There are always going to be some form of conditions attached. All loyalties in my eyes are going to be conditional. If my brother my sister owns a shop, which is a goldsmith's place. Yeah, they manufacture gold jewelry and they sell gold stuff, right?
Where's your bling, man?
It's haram.
Okay.
Gold haram for men. But if I were to buy gold for anybody, my preference would be to go there through loyalty. Yes, I agree.
Okay.
But let's just say they sold the shop, and they were no longer, or they kept the shop. They were no longer owning it. Had other people managing the shop for them. Would I be as loyal, depending on how much? What it is that I need to buy and how convenient it is, So at times I might buy something locally, or I might just ignore the fact that my sister owns a shop. But most of the times, if I've got more bulky stuff, then I would take their advice. and get them to give, because I know there's within that particular trade, you're always going to get some kind of malawat, right?
Oh yeah.
The way the buff the price up for the polishing is another price altogether, and you think, well, hang on a second, well, and then when if they trade something and they're undervalued, mate, you don't want to go into that discussion right now.
I've heard that name come up a few times, and I thought,
these are all different elements which go within the ingredients. I mean, back when I was a lot younger, I remember, because I come from a family of goldsmiths, and I've done all the, been part of the melting and the pulling on strands and making
You've seen liquid gold.
Yeah, and doing some chiseling and stuff, chalai da gum. Yeah, I've done a lot, and I've seen a lot of that. So yeah, my cousin still does it in London. He's one of the rare people in the UK who still manufactures with his own hands gold jewelry. It is, and people go to him for repairs, even from up north, and they'll send it to him. So going back to the loyalty discussion, in terms of loyalty itself, it's difficult to define loyalty in its to be very specific about. I think the closest thing is, yes, it's an allegiance towards a brand, a person, a product, or a concept. I think a lot of the times loyalty gets conflated with preferences. It can get conflated with a lot of other things. But when it comes to loyalty, my view is you will find more often than not loyalty is going to be conditional. So whether that's conditional based on location, price, what's in it for you, all those kind of things will come into it.
Which then makes you question, is it even loyalty at all?
Well, yes, I think loyalties can change. They can switch, but it doesn't mean to say they're no longer loyal. There weren't loyalties to begin with. I think there were loyalties then, but ceased to be loyalties. So you can have loyalties ceasing. This is the other thing I was going to say. Do loyalties have to be for indefinite periods of time? I don't think they do. We go back to the example of husband and wife, marital relationship, one cocks up, it's gone, the relationship is broken. There's no loyalty there anymore, is there? It's conditional. But they were loyal for that period of time. That cock up may not have been relating to loyalty as such. It could be something completely different. Doesn't mean they were disloyal.
He scratched the rim on his car.
Yeah. Oh, damn.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, I didn't mean to give such a heavy example. Ouch. Right at the end of our show as well. Bit of a tearjerker there, huh?
So, what's the next topic? Love.
Are we going with love?
Unconditional love. Unconditional love, ladies and gentlemen. Next week's topic is all about love. Unconditional love. So make sure you tune in. Hope you enjoyed this.